Arya's hands trembled as she scrubbed dried blood from the marble throne room floor. 10 years ago, her father had died here, dragged before false judges, accused of treason, beheaded while 7-year-old Arya screamed from the gallery. Now 17, she scrubbed his blood as a servant. Chief Advisor Maddox's boot crushed her fingers against the stone. Faster, Omega filth! The new king arrives tonight. She bit her tongue until she tasted copper, silent. 3 years since the attack that tore out her voice and killed her mother. The scar across her throat burned. Maddox crouched beside her, breath hot against her ear. Your bloodline ends here, princess, serving the very throne you should have inherited. Arya's eyes flashed gold for a split second. He didn't notice. The castle bells tolled. The cursed Alpha King was coming, and Arya had just been chosen to attend him. Leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments along with the city you're watching from now. Let's continue with the story. Night descended over Blackwood Castle like a funeral shroud. Arya stood in the servants' corridor while chaos erupted around her, maids stuffing belongings into satchels, footmen slipping out side exits, the head cook abandoning 3 days' worth of provisions. He's coming, someone whispered. The cursed king. They say he killed 3 maids last moon. I heard he can't control the shift anymore. The beast takes over at moonrise. My cousin served at the northern garrison. She said his wolf has 6 claws. 6? Unnatural. Arya pressed her back against the cold stone wall, watching the exodus. She had nowhere to run, no family, no coin. The castle was her prison and her only shelter. The head housekeeper, Mrs. Aldrich, grabbed Arya's shoulder with iron fingers. You'll attend the king. No one else will. Arya's eyes widened. She shook her head frantically. Did I ask, Mrs. Aldrich's face was stone. You're Omega, expendable. Take fresh linens to the king's chamber. Wait for his arrival. Do not speak. Oh, that's right. You can't. A cruel smile. Perfect. He hates chatter. Arya nodded slowly, her hands clenched into fists at her sides. As she climbed the spiral stairs to the king's tower, fragments of conversation drifted through doorways. Darion Blackwood, undefeated in battle for 10 years. The 6-clawed wolf destroyed an entire battalion at Raven's Peak. 6 months ago, he fought a witch in Thornwood, came back changed. The wolf is trapped inside him now. You can hear it screaming from his chambers at night. My brother's a guard, says the king has 7 days left, maybe less. Arya paused mid-step. 7 days until what? She reached the king's chamber. The door was black oak reinforced with iron, built to contain something dangerous. She pushed it open. Darkness swallowed her. Heavy curtains blocked the moonlight. A single candle flickered on a desk, casting grotesque shadows across walls lined with claw marks. Someone sat in a high-backed chair facing the window, silhouette rigid. Arya's breath caught. She placed the linens on a side table, hands shaking, poured water from a pitcher into a basin, set out fresh candles. Every movement felt too loud. They sent you to die. The voice was rough gravel, barely human. Arya froze. Answer me. She touched her scarred throat, shook her head even though he couldn't see her. The chair scraped. The figure stood tall, broad-shouldered, moving with predatory grace. He turned. Arya's heart stopped. Darion Blackwood was beautiful and terrible. Sharp cheekbones, dark hair falling to his collar, lips that might have smiled once but now only pressed into a grim line. But his eyes golden, glowing with inhuman light. Pupils elongated like a wolf's. His canines were too long, pressing into his lower lip. The skin along his jaw rippled as if something moved beneath it. Speak! The roar shook the candles. Arya flinched but stood her ground. She pointed to her throat, traced the scar with one finger. His glowing eyes followed the movement. Something shifted in his expression, rage cooling to confusion. Then, recognition. Of pain. Of loss. You can't. His voice dropped. They sent someone who can't even scream when I... He turned away sharply, gripping the chair's back. Wood splintered under his fingers. Leave. Now. When the moon peaks, I lose control. I don't want your blood on my hands. Arya didn't move. She crossed to the desk, found parchment and ink, wrote quickly, I've seen monsters. You're not one. She held it up. Darion read it, laughed a bitter, broken sound. You don't know what's inside me. He pulled off his shirt. Arya gasped silently. His torso was a battlefield. Scars crisscrossed his chest and abdomen, but worse were the fresh wounds, deep gouges that leaked black ichor instead of blood. They formed patterns, like claw marks raking from the inside out. The wolf is trapped, Darion said, voice hollow. The witch who cursed me, she bound my beast inside my human body. It can't shift, can't run, can only claw. He touched one of the wounds. Every night it tries to break free. Every night I bleed. Arya stepped closer, reached out. Darion caught her wrist. Don't! She met his eyes. Slowly, deliberately. She pulled free and placed her palm flat against his chest, over his heart. His skin was burning. She could feel something thrashing beneath the surface, like a second heartbeat at war with the first. 7 days, Darion whispered. If I don't shift fully within 7 days, the wolf consumes me from the inside. I'll become mindless, a beast wearing a man's skin. He looked at her hand on his chest. The curse can only be broken by someone who loves both the man and the monster, and no one could love this. Arya pulled her hand back, wrote, How do I help Darion read it? His jaw clenched. You can't. No one can. Behind him, the window shutters rattled. Moonlight spilled through the gap. Darion's eyes rolled back. He collapsed. Arya caught him barely. He was twice her size. Dead weight. She lowered him to the floor as he convulsed, back arching, mouth opening in a silent scream. Black veins spread across his neck. His fingers elongated into claws. The wolf was trying to emerge, and Arya had no idea how to stop it. Dawn broke gray and cold. Darion lay unconscious on the floor where he'd collapsed, chest rising and falling in shallow gasps. The black veins had receded but left angry red marks across his skin like a road map of pain. Arya had stayed awake all night, one hand resting over his heart, feeling the dual rhythm, his human heartbeat and the violent thrashing of the trapped wolf beneath. When his breathing finally steadied, she slipped from the chamber. The castle library was forbidden to servants, but Arya had learned long ago that dawn was when guards changed shifts and attention wavered. She picked the lock with a hairpin, a skill her mother had taught her before everything ended. Inside, dust motes swirled in shafts of early light. Shelves stretched to vaulted ceilings, packed with leather-bound volumes. Arya's fingers traced spines until she found the section on curses and dark magic. She pulled down a tome titled Bloodlines of the Beast, a history of lycanthropic afflictions. The pages crackled as she turned them, searching. There, a chapter on berserker wolves. She read quickly, her heart sinking with every sentence. The six-clawed wolf is born once every century, a manifestation of pure predatory instinct. Unlike common werewolves who retain humanity during the shift, berserkers lose all rational thought. They exist only to hunt, to kill, to destroy. The bloodline carries a curse disguised as a gift, immense power at the cost of control. Historical records show that every six-clawed alpha eventually slaughters their own pack. Binding curses, therefore, are not cruelty but mercy. To cage the beast is to save lives. Arya's hands trembled. She understood now why the witch had cursed Darion. If he shifted fully without breaking the curse properly, he wouldn't just kill her, he'd destroy everyone in the castle. Perhaps the entire kingdom. Research for your king. Arya spun. Maddox stood in the doorway, his smile sharp as a blade. She clutched the book to her chest, shook her head. Lying doesn't suit you, girl. He crossed the room with measured steps. I know you spent the night in his chamber. I know he's deteriorating faster than expected. He tilted his head. 6 days left now. Isn't it maybe 5? Arya's eyes narrowed. How did he know the exact timeline? Maddox pulled a small vial from his coat pocket. The liquid inside shimmered silver blue. Moonshade extract? Very rare, very expensive. It suppresses the beast's rage, allows the curse to think clearly. He pressed it into her palm. 2 drops in his evening drink. No more, no less. Arya stared at the vial, then at Maddox. She wrote on the book's margin, "Why help him? Because a mad king is bad for the kingdom," Maddox said smoothly. "And despite what you might think of me, I do care about stability." He leaned closer. "Or would you prefer to let him tear through the castle like the monster he is? How many servants will die? How many guards?" His voice dropped. "How long before he gets to you?" Arya's throat tightened. She looked at the vial again. 2 drops. Maddox repeated, "Save him, or condemn us all." He left her standing there, the vial burning in her palm like a coal. That evening, Arya prepared Darion's meal with shaking hands. The vial sat on the tray, innocent and deadly at once. "It will help him," she told herself. "Maddox is cruel. But he's right about one thing: a feral king endangers everyone." Darion was awake when she entered, standing at the window. He looked worse. The black veins had spread to his temples, and his eyes flickered between gold and human brown, as if his body couldn't decide which form to hold. "You came back." His voice was rough. "Foolish." Arya set down the tray, poured wine into a goblet with steady hands that belied her racing heart. She added 2 drops of the silver blue liquid. It dissolved instantly, leaving no trace. Darion turned from the window. "I don't deserve your kindness." He took the goblet, "But I'm too selfish to refuse it." He drank. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then Darion's eyes went wide. The goblet shattered on the floor. He clutched his chest, gasping. What did you—" Black veins exploded across his skin like lightning. He screamed a sound that was half human, half animal, all agony. Arya lunged forward, but he threw out a hand, stopping her. "Stay back!" His body convulsed, bones cracked, his spine arched impossibly. The wolf inside wasn't just thrashing now, it was tearing him apart from within. Darion slammed against the wall hard enough to crack stone. His hand shot out, caught Arya by the throat right over her scar. She couldn't breathe. His fingers tightened. Golden eyes stared at her, but there was no recognition in them. Only pain. Only rage. Then Darion's nostrils flared. He inhaled her scent. His eyes focused. Horror flooded his expression. He released her instantly, stumbling backward. "No, no, what have I—" He looked at his hands as if they belonged to someone else. Then his gaze snapped to the shattered goblet. He dropped to his knees, pressed his fingers into the spilled wine, brought them to his nose. "Wolfsbane." The word was a death sentence. Arya's eyes widened. She shook her head frantically, grabbed his arm, tried to show him she hadn't known, not Moonshade. Darion's voice cracked. "Wolfsbane doesn't suppress the beast. It tortures it, makes it rabid." He looked at her, and she saw betrayal there, quickly replaced by understanding. "Who gave this to you?" She couldn't write fast enough. Her hands shook as she scratched out letters. "Maddox. Said it would help. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Darion read it. His jaw clenched so hard she heard teeth crack. "He wants me to become the monster. Wants proof I'm unfit to rule." He pressed his palms to his temples. "And you just gave him—" He screamed again, cutting himself off. The wolf inside was no longer just thrashing. It was destroying him. Blood leaked from Darion's eyes. His fingernails split as claws tried to push through. The wounds across his chest tore open wider, black ichor pouring out. 3 days, he gasped between convulsions. Wolfsbane accelerated it. "I have 3 days now, not 7. Arya grabbed his face with both hands, forced him to look at her. Tears streamed down her cheeks. "I'll fix this," she mouthed. I swear. You can't. Darian's voice broke. No one can. Another spasm rocked him. He collapsed forward. Arya caught him, lowered them both to the floor. She pulled his head into her lap, placed her hand over his heart. The dual rhythm was worse now. The wolf's heart beat faster, stronger, drowning out the human one. But as her palm rested there, something shifted. The thrashing slowed, not stopped but eased. Darian's eyes opened, found hers. How are you doing that? She had no answer. She just pressed her hand more firmly against his chest and mouthed the words, "Breathe. I'm here." His breathing synchronized with hers, shallow, painful, but controlled. They stayed like that until moonrise, when the wolf surged again and Darian's screams echoed through the castle. And Arya realized with sinking horror, she hadn't just failed to help him. She'd made everything so much worse. For 3 nights, Arya didn't leave Darian's side. The first night, she simply sat against the wall while he paced like a caged animal, fighting the wolf's attempts to break free. Every hour, when the thrashing grew violent enough to make him collapse, she would crawl to him and place her hand over his heart. The touch calmed the beast not completely, but enough. "Why aren't you afraid of me?" Darian asked on the second night, his voice hoarse from screaming. He sat across from her, back against the opposite wall, maintaining distance as if proximity might shatter his control. Arya pulled out her parchment and wrote, "I've known real monsters. They don't warn their victims to run." He read it, laughed bitterly. "You have too much faith in me." She wrote again, "Tell me about the witch." Darian's expression darkened. For a long moment, she thought he wouldn't answer. Then he began to speak. "Her name was Seraphine, my half-sister." He watched Arya's face for judgment. Found none. "My father had an affair with a woman from the Thornwood Coven. When Seraphine was born, he took her in, raised her alongside me. We trained together, fought together. I thought she was my closest friend." His hands clenched. "On my 25th name day, she came to my chambers, told me she loved me, had always loved me, wanted me as her mate, not her brother." He closed his eyes. "I refused, gently at first, then firmly when she wouldn't accept it. She was my sister. It was wrong." Arya's chest tightened. She could see the pain in his face even now. She screamed that I was choosing duty over love, that I was a coward. Darian's voice dropped to a whisper. Then she smiled, said if I wanted to cage my heart, she'd cage my beast. The curse took hold before I could stop her. She spoke the binding, "You'll trap your wolf until someone loves all of you, the king, the warrior and the killer, the man and the monster, both halves, holy." He looked at Arya. She died casting it, used her life force to make it unbreakable. Her last words were, "I loved all of you. Pity you'll never find another who can." Arya's hand moved before she thought, reaching across the space between them. Darian stared at her outstretched fingers but didn't take them. The worst part. His voice cracked. "She was trying to save me. The curse is mercy disguised as torture. If my beast runs free without that kind of love to anchor it, I become the berserker my bloodline was meant to create. I'll kill everyone, starting with those I care about most." Arya withdrew her hand, wrote, "Then we find someone who loves all of you." In 3 days, Darian's laugh was razor-edged. "Impossible. Not impossible." She wrote, "Improbable. There's a difference." Something softened in his face. "You're stubborn." She smiled small, sad, and nodded. On the 3rd night, exhaustion claimed them both. They sat side by side against the wall, shoulders touching. Neither willing to sleep but unable to fight it any longer. Arya's head tilted onto Darian's shoulder. She hummed soundless, coming from her ruined throat. A melody her mother used to sing. She didn't expect him to hear it, but Darion's eyes flew open. What how? She stopped, confused. Do that again, he whispered urgently. She hummed. The sound had no voice, no real vibration. It shouldn't have been audible. I hear it. Darion turned to her, eyes wide. Not with my ears, in my mind. Your voice, it's in my head. Arya's eyes glowed faint silver for just a moment. She gasped, touching her throat. What are you? Darion breathed. She had no answer. She didn't know. Exhaustion pulled them both under. Arya opened her eyes to darkness. Not the darkness of Darion's chamber, this was deeper, primal. She stood in a forest of black trees with silver leaves that whispered secrets in languages she almost understood. She looked down at herself. Her body was translucent, shimmering like moonlight on water. A howl echoed through the trees. She followed the sound, feet silent on the forest floor. The trees grew denser, their branches reaching for her like desperate fingers. Then she saw it, a cave carved into a massive cliff face. The howling came from inside. Arya stepped into the cave. Darkness swallowed her. She walked deeper, one hand trailing along the stone wall, until the passage opened into a vast chamber. There, chained to the ground with glowing silver fetters, was the wolf. It was enormous, easily the size of a horse, with fur blacker than the void between stars. 6 claws on each paw, each as long as daggers, eyes that burned gold like twin suns. It should have been terrifying, but the wolf wasn't snarling or lunging against its chains. It was curled into itself, whimpering, shaking like a beaten dog. Arya approached slowly. Hello, she said, and her voice worked here, in this place. The wolf's head snapped up. It growled, a sound that should have stopped her heart. She kept walking. I'm not here to hurt you. The wolf snarled harder, but its eyes there was fear there. Deep, bone-tired fear. Arya knelt just outside the reach of its chains. She could see now that the fetters weren't just binding the wolf. They were burning it. The silver magic seared into fur and flesh, creating wounds that wept light instead of blood. You're in pain, she whispered. The wolf whimpered, looked away, ashamed. Arya opened her arms. Come here. The wolf's eyes widened. It didn't move. Please, Arya said. Let me help. Slowly, so slowly, the massive beast crawled forward. The chains allowed just enough slack for it to reach her. It lowered its enormous head into her lap, and the wolf, the legendary 6-clawed berserker that had destroyed entire armies, began to cry. Arya wrapped her arms around its neck, buried her face in midnight fur. You're not a monster, she murmured. You're scared. You're trying so hard not to hurt him. The wolf shuddered. Images flooded Arya's mind memories. She saw a 15-year-old Darion, first shift, losing control. Saw him wake up covered in blood, a servant's body torn apart at his feet. Saw him vomit, sob, swear he'd never shift again. Saw him learn to fear his own power. He's afraid of you, Arya whispered. And you're afraid of yourself. That's why you're caged. Not because of the curse, because of fear. The wolf pulled back to look at her with ancient, intelligent eyes. But I'm not afraid. Arya cupped the beast's massive face. If you're darkness, I'll be your dawn. I'll stand between you and the fear. Both of you. The chains cracked, just slightly. Light leaked through the fissures. The wolf licked her hand gentle, reverent. Then the vision shattered. Arya gasped awake. She was still in Darion's chamber, still leaning against him. But Darion was staring at her with an expression of complete shock. You were in my head, he whispered. I felt you, in the mindscape. You touched the wolf, spoke to it. For the first time in 6 months, the thrashing beneath his skin had stopped. The wolf was quiet, calm. Darion cupped Arya's face with shaking hands. Who are you? What are you? She didn't know. But as she looked into his eyes, she saw something that terrified her more than any curse: hope. And hope, she'd learned long ago, was the most dangerous thing to carry. Darion was different the next morning. The black veins had faded to faint gray lines. His eyes remained human brown for hours at a time. When he stood, his movements were steady rather than the jerking, pained motions of before. The wolf is sleeping, he said, wonder in his voice. For the first time in 6 months, it's not fighting me. Arya smiled. She'd done that. She'd given him peace. Come with me today, Darion said suddenly, to the council meeting. Arya's eyes widened. She pointed at herself a servant, an Omega, and shook her head. You're more than that. Darion's voice was firm. You saved me. I want you there. She couldn't refuse the hope in his eyes. The council chamber was all dark wood and cold stone. 12 men sat around an oval table: advisors, generals, the kingdom's power brokers. They fell silent when Darion entered with Arya at his side. Maddox's eyes narrowed. Sire, an Omega in the war room is highly irregular. She stays. Darion's tone brooked no argument. He pulled out a chair for Arya. Several council members exchanged glances. The meeting began. Discussion of grain stores, border patrols, tax revenues. Arya watched Maddox carefully. His face revealed nothing, but his fingers drummed against the table a nervous tell. Now, the matter of your Majesty's condition. Maddox stood, produced a leather-bound grimoire. I've discovered a solution, a ritual that can free your wolf without triggering the berserker bloodlust. Darion leaned forward. How? The curse binds beast to man, creating internal conflict. But if we perform a transference ritual during the full moon 2 nights from now, we can separate the wolf's essence from your human soul. Maddox opened the grimoire to a marked page covered in arcane symbols. The wolf's rage will be channeled into a conduit, purified, then returned to you. You'll have full control. What conduit? Darion asked. A willing vessel, someone with strong enough spiritual energy to withstand the wolf's power. Maddox's eyes flicked to Arya for just a fraction of a second. I have candidates identified. Arya's stomach turned. Something was wrong. She could feel it like ice down her spine. This will work. Darion's voice was careful. The wolf won't harm anyone. I guarantee it, sire. The grimoire is from Seraphine's own collection. She would have wanted you freed. At the mention of his dead sister, Darion flinched. Very well. Prepare the ritual. The council murmured approval. Arya wanted to scream. As the meeting adjourned, she caught Darion's arm, wrote quickly. Something's wrong, don't trust him. Darion read it, frowned. Arya, I know you and Maddox have history, but this is our only chance. 2 days left before the curse kills me. Please. Wait. Let me research. There's no time. He squeezed her hand gently. Trust me. This will work. But she didn't trust Maddox. And she couldn't explain why her every instinct screamed danger. That night, while Darion met with the ritual preparation team, Arya followed Maddox. She kept to shadows, moved silently, skills learned from years of being invisible. Maddox descended a spiral staircase into the castle's lower levels, entering a room that glowed with candlelight. Arya pressed herself against the wall outside, listening. Certain the girl is the key. An unfamiliar voice. Absolutely. Maddox's voice was sharp. I've tested her blood. True Luna lineage. No question. The ritual will transfer the king's wolf into her body. The power will kill her. Humans can't contain berserker essence, but in that moment of death, we'll siphon the wolf's strength for ourselves. Arya's blood ran cold. And Darion will be freed from the curse. Yes, but also stripped of his wolf entirely. A human king, powerless, easily manipulated. And with the girl dead, there's no one left who can... A floorboard creaked under Arya's foot. Silence fell in the room. Someone's listening, Maddox hissed. Arya ran. Her heart slammed against her ribs as she tore through corridors, taking turns at random. She had to find Darion, had to warn him. She burst into Maddox's study, wrong turn, wrong room, and stumbled, catching herself on a desk. A picture frame fell, glass shattering. Arya looked down. The portrait was old, oil paint cracked with age. It showed King Aldrich Blackwood and Queen Alara seated on thrones. Between them stood a young boy with dark hair, Darion, perhaps 8 years old, and next to him, holding his hand, was a little girl with auburn hair and gray-green eyes, Arya's eyes. The nameplate at the bottom read Prince Darion Blackwood and Princess Arianna Stormborn, age 7, betrothed by royal decree. The world tilted. Stormborn. Her father's name. The name Maddox had sneered when he crushed her hand against the floor. She was that little girl. The portrait proved it. She wasn't just a servant. She was Princess Arianna Stormborn. And she'd been here, serving in her own castle, all along. Yes. Maddox's voice came from the doorway. Surprised it took you this long to figure it out. Arya spun, backed against the desk. Maddox closed the door behind him, locked it. Your father, Alpha Roderick Stormborn, was the rightful king. Darion's father, Aldrich, killed him in a coup 10 years ago. Took the throne, took the kingdom. He stepped closer. You were supposed to die too, but I convinced Aldrich to let you live. As a servant. Poetic justice. I thought... Arya's hands shook. She looked at the portrait again, at the two children holding hands, innocent and smiling. Darion didn't know. He had no idea she was the daughter of the man his father murdered. And now, Maddox continued, you'll die giving your power to us. Darion will never know you were his stolen bride. He'll mourn his nameless Omega Maid and move on. Arya lunged for the door. Maddox was faster. He grabbed her arm, twisted it behind her back. She tried to scream, but no sound came from her ruined throat. He dragged her down into the castle's depths, to the dungeons where prisoners were forgotten. He threw her into a cell. Iron bars slammed shut. The ritual is tomorrow night, Maddox said. Rest well, Princess. Your sacrifice will be remembered. His footsteps echoed away. Arya collapsed against the stone wall, shaking. She looked around the dark cell and saw scratches on the wall, old, faded. She traced them with trembling fingers. They formed letters, Alara Stormborn, year 1015. Her mother's name. Her mother had been imprisoned here. This was where they'd kept her mother before they killed her. Arya curled into a ball, silent sobs racking her body. Everything she'd endured, her father's execution, her mother's death, 10 years of servitude crashed down on her at once. She'd found hope in Darion, had believed, for 3 precious days, that she could save him. But she was just a pawn, a sacrifice. True Luna blood to be drained for power, and Darion was searching the castle above, not knowing she was buried beneath his feet, not knowing she was the princess he'd been betrothed to as a child, not knowing his father had destroyed her entire world. Arya pressed her forehead against the cold stone and surrendered to despair. The dungeon was colder than death. Arya sat in the darkness, tracing her mother's name on the wall over and over until her fingers bled. Each letter was a memory, her mother's smile, her mother's songs, her mother's final scream. They'd kept her here, in this same cell, before they killed her. Arya wondered if her mother had scratched her name as a prayer or a curse, a hope that someone would find it, or a resignation that no one would care. 10 years. 10 years Arya had scrubbed floors, served meals, emptied chamber pots in the castle where her father had ruled. where she should have grown up as a princess, learning statecraft and diplomacy, where she should have married Darion, united their bloodlines, brought peace to the kingdom. Instead, she'd watched her father die, watched her mother murdered, lost her voice to the blade that tore across her throat, been reduced to nothing, and now she would die as a human sacrifice to give power to the men who'd destroyed her family. Arya laughed, a silent, broken sound that shook her shoulders. The irony was exquisite. She'd found the one person in the world who might have loved her, and he was the son of her father's killer. She pressed her scarred throat, felt the raised tissue. Her mother had died, saving her, had shifted into her wolf form, fought off 5 attackers while 7-year-old Arya ran and hid. The last thing Arya heard before her voice was stolen was her mother's howl, defiant, fierce, full of love. Tears burned down Arya's face. She was so tired, tired of surviving, tired of being invisible, tired of carrying grief like stones in her chest. Maybe it would be easier to just let go, let the ritual happen. At least in death, she'd see her parents again. A sound echoed in the cell. Arya looked up, vision blurred with tears. A white wolf stood in the corner where no wolf should fit. It was impossible. The bars were solid iron, the gaps too narrow even for a rat. But there it was, white as fresh snow, eyes the same gray-green as Arya's. The wolf approached slowly. Arya didn't move, couldn't move. It nuzzled her face, warm breath against her cold skin. The touch was familiar, achingly familiar. Mother. The word formed on Arya's lips, soundless. The wolf's eyes filled with impossible sorrow. It licked Arya's tears, then her scarred throat, the wound it couldn't prevent, the voice it couldn't save. Images flooded Arya's mind. Not words, just feelings. Warmth, love, a mother's eternal protection. The white wolf showed her a memory, a woman running through castle corridors, clutching a small girl to her chest, soldiers pursuing. The woman bursts into the throne room where Alpha Roderick lies dead, blood pooling beneath the throne. She screams. The girl in her arms, Arya, screams too. "Take the child," someone commands. Not Aldrich, someone else. The woman shifts mid-run, becoming the white wolf. She fights, claws and teeth and desperate love. She's magnificent. She's losing. A blade flashes, catches the wolf's throat. She collapses, but not before she uses her last strength to kick the child through a servant's passage. To safety. The wolf's eyes find the child one last time. She mouths words with her dying breath. "Live. For me. Live." Arya sobbed, shoulders heaving. Her mother hadn't just died. She'd sacrificed everything to give Arya a chance at life. And Arya had spent 10 years wishing she'd died too. The white wolf pressed its forehead to Arya's. Another image, Darion, as a boy, crying over the servant he'd accidentally killed, swearing he'd never let his beast hurt anyone again. Darion, bleeding from internal wounds every night for 6 months, choosing pain over the risk of becoming a monster. Darion, looking at Arya with something like wonder when she wasn't afraid of him. The wolf was telling her he's not his father. Don't let the sins of the past destroy the future. Arya understood, but understanding didn't heal the wound. The white wolf stepped back, where its paw had rested. Something glinted in the darkness. A key. Arya grabbed it with shaking hands. It was old iron, warm as if it had been held in living hands. The wolf faded like morning mist, but its eyes remained a moment longer, pleading. "Live. Don't waste the life I gave you." Then it was gone. Arya stared at the key, her mother's final gift. She could stay here, accept death, end the pain, or she could fight. One more time. She thought of Darion, how he'd listened to her voiceless humming, how he'd looked at her like she was something precious, how his wolf had cried in her arms in the mindscape. She thought of the little girl in the portrait, holding a little boy's hand, both of them smiling because they didn't know yet how cruel the world could be. Arya stood. Her legs shook but held. She unlocked the cell. The castle was chaos when Arya emerged from the dungeons. Servants ran screaming, guards shouted orders, and from the king's tower came a sound that froze her blood, howling. Inhuman. Agonized. Arya ran. She burst into Darian's chamber to find him on the floor, surrounded by 6 guards with silver chains. His eyes were completely black. Veins covered every inch of visible skin. He was shifting involuntarily, claws extending, receding, bones cracking and reforming. "Hold him!" a guard shouted. "The ritual must happen tonight or he'll—" Arya threw herself between Darion and the guards. "Move, girl!" One snarled. She shook her head violently, knelt beside Darion, placed her hands on his face. His black eyes found her. For a moment, recognition flickered. Then he snarled, lunged. Arya didn't flinch. She pulled his head to her chest, held him like she'd held his wolf in the mindscape. The snarling stopped. Darion shuddered, fighting for control. Arya grabbed parchment and ink from a fallen desk. Her hands shook so badly the letters were barely legible. Maddox lied. Ritual Itzul's trap. Will kill me. Steal your wolf. I am Arianna Stormborn, your betrothed, daughter of Roderick. She shoved the parchment at Darion. He read it. Read it again. His eyes slowly cleared from black to gold to devastated brown. No. The word was broken. No. You can't be. You. He looked at her face as if seeing it for the first time. Recognition dawned like a wound opening. The portrait. Your eyes. Gods. Arya. Princess Arianna. She nodded, tears streaming. My father killed yours. Darion's voice shattered. Everything you've suffered, the throne you scrubbed, the man you served, it was built on your father's blood. He scrambled backward, away from her touch. How can you even look at me? Arya reached for him. He jerked away. Don't. I don't deserve your forgiveness. I don't deserve your... He choked on the word. You saved me, and I'm the son of your destroyer. I've been sleeping in your castle, wearing your crown. Inside Darion, the wolf howled. Not in rage, in grief. It knew she was the mate. Knew Darion's guilt was building a wall between them that love couldn't breach. Sire, Maddox's voice came from the doorway. Guards flanked him. The ritual must proceed, for the kingdom's safety. Darion looked at Arya with shattered eyes. I won't let them hurt you. Then you'll die, Maddox said calmly. The curse will consume you in hours. You'll become the berserker. Thousands will die, including her. He smiled coldly. Choose. The ritual saves everyone but the girl. Or your guilt kills everyone, including the girl. Arya grabbed Darion's hand, wrote with her free hand, I choose to save you. No, you are not your father. I forgive you. Let me do this. I can't. Darion's voice broke. Arya, I can't watch you die for me. Guards moved forward. One grabbed Arya, yanked her away from Darion. She fought, clawed, kicked, screamed silently. Darion tried to stand but collapsed, the curse overwhelming him. Arya. She was dragged toward the door. She looked back at him, the man she'd saved, the man she'd started to love, the man whose father had destroyed her world. And she made her choice. She stopped fighting. Met Darion's eyes. Mouthed, worth it. Then Maddox's guards hauled her into the darkness, and Darion's anguished howl followed her down, down, down into the ritual chamber. The ritual chamber was carved from the castle's foundation, ancient stone older than any kingdom. Torches lined the walls, casting dancing shadows. A stone altar stood in the center, inscribed with symbols that seemed to writhe in the firelight. Arya was chained to it. Silver shackles burned her wrists and ankles. Maddox stood over her, the grimoire open in his hands. 5 hooded figures formed a circle around the altar witches from Seraphine's coven. paid in gold and promises of power. You should be honored, Maddox said conversationally. True Luna blood is rare. Your sacrifice will be remembered in history. Well, he smiled. Perhaps not. Dead princesses make inconvenient legends. Arya tested the chains. They held fast. She could feel magic in them, suppressing her strange abilities, the ones that let her touch Darion's mind, calm his wolf. Above them, through layers of stone, a howl echoed. Darion was still fighting. He won't reach you in time, Maddox said, following her gaze upward. Beta Ronin is a loyal dog, but even he can't break through 6 inches of oak and iron. Your king will die in that chamber, alone, while you die here. Poetic, really. The full moon rose. Arya could feel it in her bones, a pull, a call. Something inside her responded. Maddox began to chant. The witches joined him, their voices discordant and wrong. The symbols on the altar glowed. Pain lanced through Arya's chest, not physical, deeper, as if something was trying to rip her soul from her body. She gasped or tried to. No sound came from her ruined throat. The grimoire's pages fluttered though no wind blew. Maddox's voice rose. By blood of Luna, by curse of kin, we call the beast from within. Transfer the power, cleanse the rage, trap the wolf within this cage. Stop. The voice was barely human, roughened by pain and transformation. Everyone turned. Darion stood in the doorway. He shouldn't have been able to stand. His skin was more black veins than flesh. His eyes flickered between gold, black, and brown. 3 beings fighting for control in one body. Blood poured from his nose, his ears, the corners of his eyes. But he was there. The ritual ends now, Darion said. Each word seemed to cost him. Let her go. Maddox laughed. Or what? You'll kill me. You can barely walk. And if you shift, the berserker takes over. You'll slaughter everyone, including her. Darion took one agonizing step forward. I don't care. Yes, you do. Maddox's smile was cruel. That's your weakness, nephew. Arya's eyes widened. Nephew. Oh, yes. Maddox addressed Arya now. I'm Aldrich's bastard son, born to a servant he discarded. I've spent 30 years in this castle, watching my legitimate half-brother play prince while I emptied chamber pots. His voice turned vicious. When Aldrich planned the coup against your father, I helped him. I opened the secret passages. I killed 3 of Roderick's personal guards myself. Arya's chains rattled as she lunged forward, rage giving her strength. The silver burned deeper into her wrists. I convinced Aldrich to let you live, Maddox continued. Not out of mercy, out of cruelty. I wanted you to suffer as I suffered. Invisible. Degraded. Serving the throne that should have been yours. He turned back to Darion. And now, I'll take what should have been mine. The wolf's power. The kingdom. Everything. Darion's body convulsed. He fell to one knee. Maddox. Uncle. Please. She's innocent. So was I. Life isn't fair. The chanting resumed. The pain in Arya's chest intensified. She could feel it now. Darion's wolf, being pulled toward her like metal to a lodestone. In her mind, she saw the cave, saw the 6-clawed beast chained and crying. If the transfer completed, the wolf would be torn from Darion and shoved into her body. Her human form couldn't contain it. She'd burn from the inside out, and in the moment of her death, Maddox would siphon the power for himself. Darion would live, but he'd be hollow, human, powerless, and she'd be dead. Arya closed her eyes, felt the pull of the ritual magic, felt something else too, a choice. The grimoire's spell had a loophole, because all magic did. The curse could be broken by someone who loved both man and monster. The ritual required a true Luna sacrifice. But what if the Luna chose to give her power willingly, not as a victim, but as an offering? Arya opened her eyes. looked at Darion, whose body was failing, whose wolf was being ripped away. She thought of the white wolf, her mother's final gift. Live. Her mother had said, but living didn't mean just breathing. It meant choosing, fighting, loving. Her mother had chosen to die so Arya could live. Now Arya would choose who lived through her death. Arya stopped fighting the ritual. She opened herself to it. The witches gasped. Maddox's chanting faltered, because Arya was pulling the wolf toward her not as a victim being filled against her will, but as a vessel choosing to receive. She reached into the mindscape, found the cave, found the trembling beast. "Come here," she whispered in that space between souls. "I'm not afraid. I choose this. I choose you. I choose him." The wolf's chains shattered. It surged forward not in violence, but in desperate hope. It crashed into her, enormous and overwhelming, and Arya's body couldn't hold it. Her back arched. Light exploded from her chest, silver and gold intertwined. The shackles melted. The altar cracked. She was dying. She could feel it, her human form burning away. But in that moment before death, she felt something else. The curse breaking. Not because she'd taken the wolf from Darion, because she'd loved it completely, the beast and the man, the darkness and the light, all of it, wholly and without reservation. Seraphine's curse shattered like glass. Darion screamed. His body erupted in transformation. Bones cracked, muscles tore and reformed. Fur burst through skin. The six-clawed wolf emerged fully, completely. For the first time in 6 months. But it wasn't mindless. Its golden eyes were clear, aware. It looked at Arya's collapsing form on the altar and howled a sound of such grief that the castle walls trembled. Maddox stumbled backward. "No! No! The power was supposed to—" The wolf's head snapped toward him. Maddox ran. The wolf bounded after him but paused, looked back at Arya. She was fading. Her eyes fluttered. Her lips moved soundlessly. "Go, justice." The wolf's expression twisted with impossible emotion, rage, love, vengeance, devotion all at once. It made its choice. It howled again, a call that echoed through every corridor, every chamber, summoning every wolf in the castle to witness. Then it turned and pursued the man who'd orchestrated everything. The final hunt had begun. The six-clawed wolf tore through the castle like a black storm. Maddox ran with the desperation of a man who'd gambled everything and lost. He crashed through corridors, overturned furniture to block the path, screamed for guards who'd already fled. The wolf was relentless. It leaped over obstacles, smashed through doors. Its claws scored deep gouges in stone floors. Its eyes burned with focused fury, not the mindless rage of a berserker, but the cold precision of justice. Maddox burst into the throne room, the same room where Roderick Stormborn had died, where 7-year-old Arya had watched her father's execution. He grabbed a fallen guard's spear, turned to face the beast. The wolf crashed through the doors, skidded to a halt. For a moment, predator and prey stared at each other. "I'm your blood," Maddox panted. "Your uncle. You can't—" The wolf snarled, took one step forward. Maddox threw the spear. It struck the wolf's shoulder. The beast didn't even flinch. It snapped the spear shaft with its teeth, kept advancing. "Wait!" Maddox held up his hands. "The girl. Arya, she's dying. The ritual. The transfer, her body's burning out. You're wasting time with me when you could be saving her." The wolf stopped. Its ears flattened. Maddox smiled through his fear. "Yes, that's right. Every second you spend killing me is a second she dies. Choose, revenge or love." The wolf's growl was low, continuous. Its claws flexed against stone. Then it turned away from Maddox, bounded back toward the ritual chamber. Maddox sagged with relief. The wolf's tail whipped around, caught him across the chest, sent him flying into a pillar. He crumpled, gasping. The wolf was already gone. In the ritual chamber, Arya was dying. The witches had fled. The altar was cracked. Smoking, Arya lay in the center of the fractured stone, her body glowing with silver light that flickered like a failing candle. The wolf burst through the doorway, shifted mid-leap. Darion landed on his knees beside her, naked and bloodied, but human. Whole. Arya. No. 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 He gathered her into his arms. She was so light, fading. Her eyes opened barely. They glowed pure silver now, no hint of human color left. "Stay with me," Darion begged. "You broke the curse. The wolf is free. You did it. Just stay." She touched his face, smiled. Her lips moved, but no sound came. Darion understood anyway. Worth it. "You're not allowed to die." His voice cracked. "You're a princess, a true Luna. You're supposed to order me around and make me miserable for what my family did to yours. You're supposed to live." Arya's hand fell away. Her eyes started to close. "No!" Darion pressed his forehead to hers. "I'm an alpha. You're my mate. By wolf law, my pack law. I claim you. You don't get to leave me." He bit his own wrist, let blood well up, pressed it to her lips. "Alpha blood. Take it. Heal." Arya's mouth didn't move. The blood dripped down her chin. Darion's wolf surged inside him, no longer trapped, no longer fighting him. They were one now, united, and together they made a choice. He shifted partially a hybrid form, something between man and beast. His alpha power multiplied tenfold. He placed both hands over Arya's heart, let his power flow into her golden light meeting silver. "You showed me I wasn't a monster," he said through fangs. "Let me show you that you're not meant to die. Not here, not now, not ever." The lights merged, gold and silver spiraling together. Arya gasped a real sound, audible, her first in 3 years. Her eyes flew open. Darion sobbed with relief, pulled her tight against him. "Can't breathe." Arya's voice was raw, broken, but real. She was speaking. He loosened his grip, but didn't let go. Couldn't let go. Footsteps echoed. Maddox appeared in the doorway, leaning against the frame. Blood stained his shirt from broken ribs. In his hand, he held a curved blade, cursed iron, etched with runes that pulsed sickly green. "How touching," he wheezed. "But this isn't over." Darion shifted fully to wolf form, put himself between Maddox and Arya. "One more step and You'll what kill your own uncle." Maddox limped forward. "Go ahead, become the kinslayer. The curse may be broken, but pack law still stands. Kill me, and your bloodline is cursed for 7 generations. Every child you have," he looked at Arya, "every heir she gives you will be born twisted, broken." Darion's growl deepened, but he didn't attack. "That's what I thought." Maddox took another step. "So here's my offer. Let me leave. Let me disappear into the woods with enough gold to start over, and I'll take this secret to my grave. No one ever has to know what happened here." "You killed my father," Arya said. Her voice was stronger now, fury giving it power. "You tortured Darion. You tried to murder me, and you think we'll just let you go. I think you'll do what's necessary to protect your future." Maddox was 10 feet away now. 5. "I think you're both tired of blood and death. I think you want peace." He was right in front of them now. The cursed blade gleamed. "So," Maddox held out his free hand. "Deal." Arya looked at Darion, at the wolf who'd learned to trust, at the man who'd chosen love over vengeance. She made a choice. She reached out not for Maddox's hand, but toward his mind. Her true Luna power, awakened fully now, lanced out like a silver spear, into Maddox's consciousness. He gasped, staggered. What are you?" Arya showed him a memory, not hers. His, a small boy, maybe 5 years old, watching from a corner as servants celebrated a royal birth. Prince Darion had been born. The castle rejoiced. The boy's mother, a scullery maid with tired eyes, held him close. "That could have been you," she whispered, "if your father had done right by us." The boy didn't understand. Later, older now, he saw his father, King Aldrich, walking past. "Father," he called. Aldrich looked at him with empty eyes. "I have no bastards." Walked away. The boy's mother died when he was 12. Worked to death in the castle kitchens. No one came to her funeral. The boy Maddox stood alone at her grave and swore, "I'll make them all pay." 30 years of resentment. 30 years of pain. All compressed into one moment of perfect clarity. Tears streamed down Maddox's face. "Mother," he whispered. The cursed blade fell from his hand. In that moment of vulnerability, Darion lunged, but Arya was faster. She shoved Maddox's hand aside, stepped between them. The blade meant for Maddox's heart slashed across her side instead. She screamed, her new voice raw with pain, and collapsed. Darion caught her, shifted human. "Arya, gods, no. Why did you? No more. Killing," she gasped. Blood seeped through her fingers where she pressed her wound. "No more. Curses." Maddox stood frozen, the blade at his feet, staring at the woman he'd tried to sacrifice. The woman who'd just saved him. "Why?" His voice broke. "After everything I've done to you. Why?" Arya looked up at him with eyes that held no hatred, only exhaustion. "Because someone has to choose differently." Her eyes rolled back. Her hand fell away from the wound. Blood poured freely now, too much, too fast. Darion pressed his hands to the gash, but it was cursed iron. His healing couldn't touch it. "No. No. Arya. Stay with me. Stay with me." Her heartbeat stuttered, slowed, stopped. Arya's heart stopped. Darion's world stopped with it. "No." He shook her. "No. You don't get to save everyone and then die. That's not how this works." "Arya." His wolf howled inside him, a sound of such anguish that every wolf in the kingdom felt it, wherever they were, and howled in response. Maddox stood frozen, staring at his hands. Hands that had orchestrated so much death. Hands now stained with the blood of someone who'd chosen mercy. "I killed her," he whispered. "The one person who—" He collapsed to his knees. "What have I done?" Darion ignored him. He placed both hands over Arya's wound, poured his alpha power into her. Gold light flared, but the cursed iron repelled it. His healing couldn't reach her. "Someone help!" Darion roared. "Someone help her!" But the witches had fled. The guards were scattered. They were alone. Darion pulled Arya against his chest, rocked her like a child. "You can't leave me. I just found you. His voice shattered. "I love you. Do you hear me? I love you. Both halves. The princess and the maid. The victim and the survivor. All of you. Come back." Silence answered him. Then a howl, pure and clear and heartbreakingly familiar. The white wolf materialized from nothing, as it had in the dungeon. It padded across the ritual chamber, leaving no footprints, casting no shadow. Darion's breath caught. "You're Elira Stormborn, Arya's mother." The white wolf inclined its head, stepped to Arya's body, nuzzled her face. "Please," Darion begged. "Save her. I'll do anything. I'll abdicate the throne. I'll confess my father's crimes. I'll—" The wolf looked at him with ancient, knowing eyes. Then it turned to Maddox. Maddox stared back, tears streaming. "I helped kill you 10 years ago. I was one of the men who—" He couldn't finish. The white wolf studied him for a long moment. Then it licked his hand. Forgiveness. Maddox sobbed, broken. complete sobs of a man finally feeling the weight of his sins. The white wolf turned back to Arya. It opened its mouth and howled not a sound of grief, but of summoning. The air rippled. Light coalesced into shapes, dozens of shapes. Spirits. Wolves who died in the coup, soldiers, servants. And in the center, two figures that made Darion's breath stop. His father, Aldrich Blackwood, and Arya's father, Roderick Stormborn. The two former kings faced each other. Then, slowly, Roderick extended his hand. Aldrich stared at it, at the man he'd murdered, betrayed, destroyed. I don't deserve Bell. No. Roderick agreed. You don't. But our children deserve better than our hatred. Aldrich took his hand. Both men turned to Arya's body. They placed their spectral hands over her heart alongside Darion's solid, living ones. Elira joined them. The white wolf's paw covered the cursed wound, and together the living and the dead, the betrayed and the betrayer, the mother and the fathers, they poured light into Arya, gold from Aldrich, silver from Roderick, pure white from Elira, and burning, desperate love from Darion. The cursed blade's poison burned away, the wound knitted closed. Arya's chest rose, fell, rose again, her eyes opened glowing pure silver, then fading to their natural gray-green. She looked at the spirits surrounding her, at her mother, her father, at Darion's father. Dad. Her voice was wonder and grief and joy all at once. Roderick smiled. My little Storm, you grew up strong. I'm sorry I couldn't save you. You survived. That's all I wanted. He looked at Darion. Take care of her, or I'll haunt you. Darion managed a wet laugh. Yes, sir. Roderick's spirit began to fade. Aldrich's too. But before they disappeared, the two kings clasped hands one final time. Forgive me, Aldrich whispered. I forgive you. Roderick replied. For them, the spirits vanished. Only Elira remained. She nuzzled Arya one last time, then looked at Darion. Her meaning was clear. Protect my daughter. Darion placed his hand over his heart. With my life, with my soul, always. The white wolf faded like morning mist, and Arya was left in Darion's arms alive, whole, healed. You came back. Darion breathed. You actually came back. You called. Arya's voice was raw but steady, real. I heard you. In the darkness, your voice pulled me home. He kissed her, desperate and tender and full of promises. When they pulled apart, both were crying. I love you, Darion said. I should have said it before. I love you. Ariana Stormborn, Princess, Luna, Mate, all of you. I love you too. Arya cupped his face. But we have a problem. She looked at Maddox, who still knelt on the floor. Broken. Darion's expression hardened. He tried to kill you. Multiple times. I know. Arya stood, swayed. Darion steadied her. She walked to Maddox, each step stronger than the last. Maddox looked up at her with hollow eyes. Do it. Execute me. I deserve it. You do. Arya agreed. Her voice carried the weight of true Luna authority now. But I won't. Because if I execute you, I become what destroyed my family, someone who answers pain with more pain. She knelt to his level. I forgive you, Maddox Blackwood. But forgiveness isn't freedom from consequences. She stood, addressed the guards who'd begun to cautiously enter the chamber. Maddox Blackwood is hereby exiled from this kingdom. He'll leave with nothing but the clothes on his back. If he ever returns, the sentence is death. She paused. But his son, I know he has a child in the servants' quarters. The boy stays, raised here. educated, given the chance his father never had. Maddox's eyes widened. My son. You'd raise my son. I'd give him a choice. Arya corrected. Something no one gave you. Guards took Maddox away. He went without resistance, looking back once with an expression of shattered gratitude. When they were alone, Darion pulled Arya close. You're terrifying. You know that. Good. She smiled. A queen should be. Queen. Darion pulled back to look at her. Arya, He took a breath. My father stole your throne. I've been ruling your kingdom. It's yours. By right. By blood. He reached up, removed the crown he wasn't wearing. It had been left in his chambers, but the gesture was clear. I give it back. Arya took his hands instead. I don't want it back. Not alone. What do you want? You, she said simply. Us. Together. Joint rule. Your experience. My birthright. One kingdom. United. The council will never accept an Omega Queen. I'm not an Omega. Silver light flickered in her eyes. I'm true Luna. And if they have a problem with that, they can take it up with my wolf. Darion laughed, genuine, joyful. When did you become so fierce? I've always been fierce. You just couldn't hear me. She kissed him softly. Now you can. Above them, through shattered stone, moonlight streamed in. The full moon shone bright and clear, and for the first time in 10 years, there were no screams in Blackwood Castle, only the sound of two people breathing, healing, beginning again. 1 year later, Arya stood on the castle balcony, hand resting on her swollen belly. Below, the kingdom had transformed. Where once fear ruled, now hope bloomed. She sang, her voice fully restored, stronger than before. The melody carried across courtyards where children played. Among them ran a boy with Maddox's eyes, laughing freely, unburdened by his father's sins. Darion wrapped his arms around her from behind. Their wolves, his black, hers newly awakened silver, chased each other in the gardens, no longer cursed, no longer caged. I used to think I'd lost everything, Arya said softly. My voice, my family, my name. And now I understand. We don't lose ourselves in tragedy. We transform. She placed her hand over his. My mother sacrificed herself so I could live. My father's spirit blessed our union. Even your father found redemption in the end. Family isn't just blood, Darion murmured. It's who we choose to become for each other. Arya turned in his arms. And I choose gratitude. For every scar that taught me strength. For every loss that taught me love. The white wolf appeared briefly in the garden, watching, then faded with a mother's satisfied smile. Some endings are really beginnings. Have you ever been forced to serve those who wronged you, like Arya scrubbing her father's blood from the throne room floor? How did you find the strength to keep going?